everybody, Films by JRP here, and welcome to the final episode, the season finale of Live at Home with JRP. And today we're interviewing perhaps our most famous guest, my good friend Danny Castellanos. He starred in our latest film, Matthew Before the Paradox, as, of course, the titular character, Matthew. He has a massive channel of his own. Hello, Danny. Welcome to the show.
How are you?
I am great.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for taking the time to stop by. How's your day been so far?
It's going well. Actually, it's not going well. I'm going crazy. I've been finding myself doing a lot of scripts for a lot of future ideas, you know?
Oh, same here, because, like, you know, as a filmmaker, obviously, you can't leave the house with everything that's going on.
Yeah.
So you gotta keep the ideas flowing somehow.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
like, I've been finding myself just like, oh man, let's write the script, and then it's like, oh well, I can't shoot it. Oh wow, I have this other idea. So then I find myself writing just more and more scripts, just because, you know, we can't go out.
It's a matter of, like, what can I film in the house? Because that's all we got. How has that been with you? You know, because I know you're in an area that it's probably been hit harder with everything that's going on right now. So how have you been getting on dealing with all this?
Well, I hope it just blows over. It's kind of hard to get motivated into doing things. So you know, the way I've been dealing with it's just that, you know, I have friends tag me in workouts and stuff, and, you know, that's a great way to just be like, oh, I have to do this thing, you know, because I got tagged, and, you know, I have to respond. So that's a way of dealing with it. You know, obviously we shouldn't be going out due to you know, everything going on, but, you know, you just gotta sometimes, you know, like, right. I spent all last week doing gardening.
Oh man.
Out of all things, you know. And, you know, you gotta do the emergency runs, and, you know, you gotta wear your masks and gloves, and it's scary, man. It's one of those things where it's like an event happening out of a movie, you know, but it's real life and it's scary.
It's definitely, I think, as long as we stay safe and continue these health habits, most of us will be okay. And I think going forward, it's really going to change a lot of things. You know, for one thing, I think everyone will be a lot more health conscious coming out of this.
Yeah.
As well as, I think it's going to change the school system. I think they're going to add an 8th subject, technology, because I'm hearing about a lot of not only students, but teachers that are struggling to have the technology they need to communicate. So I think we're going to see a lot of changes coming out of this.
Well, you know, even right now it's tough, you know. I have a sister, and, you know, she's an 8th grader. This is her final year, and it's been really tough for her, you know. And it's like I was talking to her not too long ago, because she was afraid of, you know, her grades going down and not being able to graduate, and it's just it's a thing no one ever prepared for.
Absolutely.
You know. And teachers right now are struggling with that. You know, I've spoken to her, and she said she has 3 different classes, and all 3 different classes use 3 different apps. And as a student, that's a hassle. And I just told her, you know, if you don't understand something, email your teachers. You know, communication is key right now. Just because, you know, she doesn't want her grades to fall. So it's crazy. It's everything is going to change from now on. You know, it's definitely going to be an impact, and it's definitely something that's going to go down in history books for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm going through that same struggle because in college. I've never done online classes for this very reason, so that I can have the communication that I need with the teachers. In fact, a few of my teachers are not even like technologically able enough to use chat apps. So like they're posting things to YouTube, which is great for lectures, but then it means I can't get that communication that I want. So that definitely has made my 3 classes more challenging. I had a friend who was in 6 classes trying to finish up his college, but he had to drop out of them because, of course, you can't do 6 classes online. It's just too difficult with all this stuff going on. But let's pivot to a lighter topic now. And guys, for those that don't know, this is Danny Castellanos. He has his own channel, as well as starring in my latest film, Math Before the Paradox. So, Danny, why don't you tell us a little bit about what's your channel about, how it got started?
Well, it's very interesting because, man, I loved acting since I was a kid. I did a lot of theater in elementary school. I did it in middle school and in high school. And then, after high school, I went to college, and then that's what I pursue. My YouTube channel was initially just a channel where we just did random skits, and we did a high school skit where we're in class, and this kid was having trouble focusing, and all the kids around him were just messing around, and it was just random skits like that. And then we saw a contest happening in Nickelodeon, where it was, submit your short film. It was with SpongeBob, believe it or not. And it was submit your own SpongeBob short film, and make sure not to include a sponge or anything that represents the characters, but something that inspired you from the TV show. And I remember reading all the rules and stuff, and we did it. My little sister, my little brother, and I filmed them. We did some green screen work, and we did the skit, and we submitted it onto the YouTube channel. And I believe that was one of the first videos that we actually put all our hard work into it, because the prize was like, you get to see it on the big screen and this and that.
Oh wow.
And then we get an email saying, check out the website to see who the finalists were. And then we see the finalists. We weren't on there. We see the finalists, and all of them did not read the rules, because I was just like, they're clearly dressed as SpongeBob and this and that. How is this, the finalist? So I was really upset. But, it's whatever. So that was one of the original YouTube videos we did first, and then it inspired me because we did in that skit we did a version of Power Rangers, and and it was my little brother transforming into a superhero, but we did it like Power Rangers. And I was just like, I was so in love with that scene, because we did green screen and we did it all with cardboard and stuff. And I was like, hey, we should do that, but at another level, And my fiance was like, yeah, we should totally do it. And we saw another contest, and this was actually being held by one of the Power Rangers. And I was just like, this is it. I think it's a sign, It's like, we were just talking about doing this, and now there's another contest. And it was basically the same thing. Recreate an episode that you like. And I grabbed my cousins. We went to the park. We filmed everything. We green screened a bunch of things, and we won that contest.
Oh, wow.
From there on, I was just like, this is really fun. We should continue doing this just for fun,
Yeah.
And one thing led to another, and that's how the channel started.
Wow, that's really incredible. So when you make your Power Rangers episodes, would you say that the episodes are completely original, or you base it off comics, books, TV shows? And also, where do you get your costumes? Because they look really great. Like, are do they come exactly the way they are, or do you like build each piece from scratch?
Okay, so the skits are basically we watch the original tokusatsu from Japan, the Super Sentai, and we get influence from both TV series. So we watch the original content, Super Sentai, and then we see the adaptation from America, and I love meshing both worlds into my skits, and I like referencing a lot of the Super Sentai stuff, but most of the stuff is basically are made up stories, so they're not exactly from Super Sentai and they're not exactly from Power Rangers. They're from both worlds, and then we just make it ourselves. So it's a mixture of all three.
Wow.
And for the costumes, most of the stuff are bought secondhand. So sometimes, I see a helmet that they're selling on a Facebook page for really cheap, and I'm just like, oh, we can use this. And I buy it, and sometimes they're not in the best conditions. So either I modify it or paint it or fix it up, or my fiance is like, okay, well, now we have a helmet, and now we need to build the rest, and we built the rest ourselves. Or sometimes we reach out to other friends that are actually costume makers, and they help make the bodysuits. But we have had makers actually make the full costumes for us. We know a couple of makers from around the world, and that's how we sometimes, like, if we really need or want a costume, we put in the order. But it's an investment, but at the end of the day, it's all fun because we also use these costumes for charities.
Oh, that's cool.
They pay off in the long run.
Have you had struggles with copyright? Because back in the day, I used to make parodies of Star Wars and Star Trek films, and surprisingly, it would often be a problem because the outfits maybe looked too similar. Has that ever been an issue, or that's or maybe YouTube's not too picky?
Well, the thing about that, I'm sorry, I'm having really hard time hearing you.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. Copyright. The only issue with copyright that we've ever had would be music. But the thing is, I've looked into it because, believe me, I was scared of that for the longest time. And the thing is that everything we do is a little bit of, like I said, a little bit of the Super Sentai and a little bit of the Power Rangers, and then we make it ourselves into our own world kind of thing. So that falls under parody. Oh, that's good.
I hardly ever use the word Power Rangers or Super Sentai in any of my skits. I started this hashtag where I call ourselves the Power Geeks. And whenever we encounter one of our villains, they always refer to us as the Power Geeks. So we stay away from the word Power Rangers or Super Sentai. So I guess that kind of falls under parody. So I think that's a way we've gotten away with that. And I have had some of the actors in some of our skits, and even when they appear in our skits, I refer from using their character names in the TV show, and I call them by their real names. So that's another way I've liked to stay away from, like, oh, okay, because I don't want to get a copyright from that. But yeah, even music's been like the toughest copyright for us, I guess.
Absolutely.
Because most of the stuff is royalty free, and even if it's royalty free, sometimes you still get that strike. But I guess that's about it. And I don't use any of the TV footage at all either. I stay away from that. I rather just recreate it from scratch.
Well, yeah, so apparently, I guess YouTube, it focuses more on things that it can be heard, like music and voices, but I guess it wouldn't care too much about visuals for some reason, because it seems like YouTube is an ongoing, they continue to change their rules, so visually, you can put on any costumes you want, basically, you don't have to worry about that visually.
I guess it's as long as it's not a scene from the TV show, I think you should be fine. Because even if you wear a full outfit, I mean, there's people that review things, and I know a lot of people that review costumes, and they look exactly like what's on TV or film, but it's an original content. They're not stealing footage from like the film or a TV show, because I think even if you show off like a JPEG from Google, you can get a copyright strike.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm assuming that if it's an original, yes, so I guess that's it.
So when the virus clears up and we're able to get out there again, do you have any plans on how you're going to advance your channel, or perhaps a bit of a production you might want to be okay with sharing with us about what could come in the future?
Well, even now, like, I want to involve the Power Rangers community. I have this idea where I want a bunch of fans to submit their version of like wearing a mask. So that's something I'm going to be doing. I also recently had a friend. Well, he didn't recently do this. He did it like about 2 years ago. He made a theme song for my YouTube channel. With lyrics. It's really awesome, and a lot of people were asking me about it, so I finally released the theme song. But another idea I had is making another video and asking our viewers to sing along the theme song. And I was just gonna compile everybody just singing along the theme song, so that's another thing I'm working on.
Oh wow, that's cool. That way you really pull in the community and engage.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, it looks like we have a question from one of our viewers here. What can you tell us about? Because you were in a theater production with my sister Rebecca's group Masker, and she wanted to know something about how was that like for you as opposed to your normal everyday YouTube stuff? And was that your first theater production, or did you have others?
No, I mean, I went to college. I went to the East LA College, and I want to say I was in like 6 productions in theater there.
Oh wow.
After I left college, I did 2 other theater productions before I got into Masquerade. But I loved everybody in Masquerade. Everybody was so welcoming, and it's a family, and I was really, really grateful to have been part of that family for my short time. I mean, it's not the last time I'm going to be there for sure. It's just, I had the opportunity to audition again, and I had another theater call me back for something, and I couldn't commit to both. I thought I was going to be able to do both at the same time, but unfortunately I couldn't. But everybody was so welcoming. I love everybody there. I learned a lot, and that's the thing as an actor is, it doesn't matter where you're working at, it's always a learning experience, and you never stop learning. As long as you're working, you never stop learning. And
absolutely.
I learned a lot, and I miss everybody there.
What was it like playing a character of such intensity? I mean, just for someone to be that emotionally controlled. I mean, for those that don't know, the skit was about how the main character, which is you, had like visual representations of emotions around him, like hopelessness and worry and stuff like that. So, what was it like playing such a character that felt that much and communicating that to the audience?
Um, well, I remember we were sitting down this one time, and we had a Q&A with the audience, and it was it was basically kind of the same question. And the way I went about it is, you read the script. I remember I read for Jesus as well, and
Oh,
I
really?
read for uh, the devil as well. Um, and when you're doing a cold read, it's really hard to pick it up really fast when you're auditioning. Um, but when I got casted, um, I really sat down and I thought about this character. You know, we got in the script. You read what he went through with his with his life, with his partner, and it's just like, okay, in many ways I can connect with this character because I've been through that, you know and it's just like, how did you deal with that at that time, and what's the
Mm-hmm.
difference between this character and and it's just figuring out how this character is, and then hearing all these voices telling him this and that, just deteriorating this character. And it's just like, you got to visualize this character first going through this, so then you can portray that, and it was I remember saying that, before I went up, because I was in a scene before our scene, before our little skit went up on stage.
Mm-hmm.
Not skit, before we performed on stage, I was in another performance. So then as soon as I walked off stage, I ran, I changed. As soon as I changed into my costume, I would put on my earphones and I would just start listening to sad music just to
Get you
get
in the
me
mood.
in the mood. And then I start telling myself, like, what I did before I walked into my room, because that's how the scene starts. I walk into my apartment and it's just like, okay, what am I doing before I walk into my apartment? And just preparing myself to just be that character and just be sad and depressed. Um, but yeah, it was a lot of work, in the sense of trying to channel those emotions, especially um, when I got up and I yelled at God. you know, it
Absolutely.
was just trying to figure out and just build that flame of anger. You know.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes, depending on what theater group you're in, one thing that can sometimes suffer is displaying the extreme emotions needed for the character. And some don't know, but that's when I first met you. That's when I first saw you. And I
Mhm.
just knew right away that you had talent because it would be all too easy to go really light with the emotions and basically just read the lines and not really become the character. But in an instant, I only knew you as that character. The character was you, you were that character because it was so seamless. I really felt like you were pulling me into the story. I would even go as far as to say you were the best character on the stage that day because I really felt like I believed everything you were saying. I forgot that it was on a stage. It felt all real to me. So you really convinced me. So you obviously have
Well, I
a lot of
mean,
talent in that
that
area.
that also goes to everybody on stage.
Absolutely.
It's I gotta play off everybody. And hearing Rebecca, Ian, you know, just telling me these things. That's what that's the moment that I guess a lot of actors forget to do is listening to your fellow actor on stage, really listening to what they have to say, you know. And Nick, who's of the play, Nick really wrote like these hurtful you know, sentences for these characters. And you know, just hearing Rebecca and Ian, you know, one of them whispering in my ear, the other one walking around me, you know, it really, that's what really helps me as an actor feel shrunk and small, you know. And being able to play off their energies on stage really helps me channel those emotions. So, you know, it's a team effort, you know. And it was everybody did great. And I think that's what makes the play powerful, is, you know, playing off all these actors on stage. That's what brings the play to life, you know. And that's what I want to say happen on stage, you know. But yeah, you know, it's a group effort, you know.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can't wait if you ever go back there so that I can watch you again, or and because I've been meaning to. Well, now I can't leave the house, but I've been wanting to go to one of your theater productions.
Everybody can't leave their house now.
Yeah, and so to talk about the people that are on my side that are watching you, they know you as Matthew from my latest movie, Matthew Before the Paradox. So for those that don't know, I'll tell everyone a little bit about how that started. You joined pretty quickly. Like, we got everything started like within a month or so, and you were able to get over there and memorize the script. So obviously this was your first movie, so I know it was an adjustment for the way that I do things and the way that you do things. So what can you tell us about just showing up and acclimating and becoming that character?
Well, I remember seeing Rebecca had sent me, I want to say 2 videos prior to Matthew Paradox. So I was really looking into the previous actor and seeing his performance and just understanding the world he had created. So once he sent me the script, I was trying to understand who this character was, because he said this was prior to what had happened. So that was basically, oh, okay, I can't play off this other character because this is prior, this is brand new. So I was really trying to figure out what Matthew was before I had seen. And I think you explained that he was just a blank slate until he gained consciousness. So that, reading the script in that sense, I was just like, okay, I can understand what this character is now. And I want to say that even when we got to the set and we filmed the beginning, I was still a little confused. I was like, okay, so I shouldn't read it like this. And I hadn't asked you yet, and I hadn't asked Rebecca, but I was just like, I don't think I should be reading it like this. And then I think we did a take, and you gave me a note where it's like, don't add emotion to it, just stay there frozen. And I was just like, okay, so he is a blank slate.
I try to some extent. I do things a little differently than most people, where I try to give actors as much flexibility as possible, where instead of so much creating the character itself, I have the outlines of a character, and then I essentially hand it over to the actor to flesh out that character. You know, like my other friends that were in previous films, I can't really tell the difference too much between the character themselves and the way they are. You know, like I want their character to become them. which again, I thought you did expertly. As always, I thought it came out exactly the way I wanted to come out. But there were some frustrating moments throughout the film when we had a hard time getting it exactly how we wanted it. Do you remember the bottle scene, and what can you tell us about that?
The bottle scene was, I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun with that scene. The bottle scene, it was the only prop we had. I had suggested we practice before we used the bottle scene, before we used the actual prop with a water bottle. And even when we practiced, we were just like, oh man, I don't know if this is gonna work. But I mean, it was so fun. So I guess for the viewers that don't know, we had a prop bottle that breaks during one of the scenes in a block fight, right? And we blocked out
Yes.
the fight, and it shatters. So we only had one of them, and Jonathan here was like, "Oh, let's just shoot it." And I was like, "No, hold on, let's not shoot it just yet. Let's practice first."
I always
because we only have one, and so we practiced more than 10 times, right? I want to say it was over more. 10 times. And then that's when we were like, okay, it's time. And I think we dropped it once and it didn't break, right?
Yeah, it was only like a few inches on the desk, but yeah.
Yeah, that was scary.
And,
You know, but so, I mean, it looked so good on camera. It looks so good on camera.
Absolutely.
I remember when you sent me the whole video, I watched that clip like 5 times. I rewind it 5 times, and I was just like, oh, that water, that bottle.
It was just really great to have your expertise there on the set. I have filmed with a few friends that didn't previously have any theater experience, and so it was a work in progress. So to have you come on and, you know, just to even remind me of something simple like that yes, we should rehearse, you know, because often when I'm making my films, it's not that I have the only say, it's that I have the only opinion on things, because most of my friends are exclusively actors. So it was really great to have that input so that I can know, you know, what's going to work. You know, and what really fits with everything. And also, well, you weren't able to make it to the premiere event, but when we were there at the event, I have a lot of people that were watching that sometimes I don't think they'd really understand why it's so difficult to make a film. You know, you just get a camera, hold it up, there you go, it's a movie. You know, so when they watch,
I get that a lot.
Yeah, so after showing them the movie, I showed them some of the behind the scenes. I showed them the bottle scene, and I said, I'm going to show you every take we have, you know. And so I just kept playing take, and afterwards, I think they got a better understanding for what people like you and I go through. Where, you know, because then I showed them the final clip, and it was literally less than 5 seconds. You know, and so one person was saying, wow, so you spent like a good half an hour for just 5 seconds of footage, you know. And yes, that's how it is. And, you know, if you compare, you know, our films at home with a very low budget, with whatever we happen to have, when you compare that to a big budget film in the theaters, of course, ours isn't going to look as great, but they have all those resources. So now I think, at least some of my viewers now have a better appreciation for that. Have you had ever have people like that didn't seem to get what you do?
Everybody thinks it's very easy, you know, like they think it's so easy. I have a friend, his name is Daryl J. Delphin, and he used to teach martial arts, and I've been blessed to have him on set, and he helped me, you know, choreograph fighting scenes. And, you know, people see it and they're just like, oh wow, you know. We spent like a whole day at a park shooting for a 3-minute video, and everybody thinks it's so easy, you know. I recently shot a video with my fiance, and she had to do a lot of stunts, and it was her first time doing a lot of stunt work
Oh wow.
with Daryl and me. Um, and she was just like, "Oh my gosh." The next day she was just like, "I'm so sore. I don't know how you guys do this." And I'm just like, "Yeah, it's not easy." you know? And especially when you're working with one camera, and you're doing a fight scene, um, when you're doing one camera work, because that's all we have sometimes, it's just one camera. And
Right.
it's like when you're doing a fight scene, you got to do that fight over and over and over just to get different angles. It was like the sword fighting scene that we had. It's like we did that fight scene like 7 times, but we did it in different
Right.
angles. So it's like
And
that. And a lot of people think it's just so easy. um they think, oh, just put the camera on a tripod and just hit record, and it's just like, no, I mean, if that's what you want, that's all you're gonna get. But
right.
as someone that's a filmmaker that loves film, you know you want to be amazed with what you watch. And and that's, I guess as filmmakers, that's what we do. We see a film and we see how beautiful the shot is, and then we start like, oh wow, they did it from this angle, they did it from that angle. And it's just like, I want to say, like, doing a fight choreographed scene is like dancing, and
Absolutely.
if you have the camera set up in different angles, it's gonna look beautiful.
And
And a lot of people don't see that creative part. It's like,
yes.
oh, they don't understand till you show them the process, and then that's when they're like, oh wow. um
And I really
but
admire the skill you have into choreographing that fight, because I'll admit one area I need to improve in is fight choreography. I'll have an idea in my script that I want them to fight and it has to be this outcome and all that, but it's difficult, at least for me, to put it into words how exactly that's going to go down. And so, in fact, even going forward, until I learn that, I might even limit the amount of action as for hand-on-hand action, because I realize that's one weak point. And so I think you touched on it a little bit earlier, but how do you come up with your choreography? And is there a lot of collaboration with others, or it just comes naturally to you?
so I mean, I took a lot of fighting choreography classes in theater. So a lot of fencing, a lot of sword fighting. I did take 2 fighting classes on camera.
Oh
Um,
wow.
that I had to do that outside of school, just to learn. And I sit down and I watch breakdowns on YouTube, how
Hmm.
people break down a scene, and I watch a lot of the fighting scenes. And that's what I mean, where it's when you're choreographing fights, it's like a dance routine. So you work with your fellow actor. So when I'm filming, most of my Power Ranger stuff, and it's me with a villain, usually that villain is dressed up as that villain is my friend Daryl, who does martial arts.
Right.
We come up with these fight scenes, and we rehearse them together, with or without swords, or sometimes even a gun or a blaster. We figure out, okay, this is what we should do. We should have the camera here, and we should have the camera zoom in at certain points. And it becomes creative.
Hmm.
You start figuring things out, as you're choreographing. But we never sit down and it's like, oh, so how are we gonna do this fight? It's usually on set when we're filming, and it's like, huh, so how are we gonna do this fight? So we write the script, and in the script we put, okay, fight insert here, but we never discuss what the fight is gonna be like, or what the
Wow.
characters are gonna have. Um, So I want to say most of the fight choreography happens on the fly. Um, but we try to take care of ourselves too because we're working on a budget. We don't have fall pads or anything. You did, which was awesome.
That's true.
But me and Daryl, we commit to our falls. We we work with what we got, and we have fun with it. That's the important thing, is have fun with it. The minute you start getting frustrated or like, I don't think this is gonna work, that's when you should probably just stop and take a walk.
So that's good to hear that you can be as successful as you are, and that's still the way that you do things. Because I thought that as I got better, I should be able to plan it all from home, because I like to be 100% prepared when I go in, but I'll feel
Mhm.
a little anxious if I don't have the entire fight planned out. So, so that's good. You guys, you take your time until you get it right. And I have to say, it looks very professional, like you hired stunt guys. It just looks great. So.
Man, it's just me and Daryl. We do all the stunts.
Yeah. Well, so Danny, you've been with us for a long time here today, and now I have one final question for you on a much lighter note. With everything going on, what do you do at home for fun when you're not having to worry about anything else?
Oh, well, I mean, what I do for fun, jeez, I've been playing a lot of Fortnite. It's a game I thought I'd never ever get into, and Animal Crossing. I just recently started playing that, and the thing is, I don't play video games. I haven't played video games in a long time. I can't, because I get motion sick a lot.
Oh, really?
I've been pulling it off. And that, or I just watch films, or go on YouTube and, I watch a lot of actors' interviews. So, just to get inspired, get inspiration,
Absolutely.
and, just be creative.
Have you ever played PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds? Because that's my thing. That's what I play all the time.
No, I've never played that.
It's basically like Fortnite with a lot less colors. That's basically
Okay.
all it is. It's more realistic,
The
less...
last game I played was the Spider-Man
Oh,
PS4 game.
that's cool.
And even playing that, I could only play for like about an hour or two, because then I get motion sick.
I relate to that, at least on some level, where
Okay.
where with anything VR, I don't last literally 10 minutes. That's it. With VR.
Wow.
Like, as well, especially if it's a roller coaster or something, a VR roller coaster, and I'm just sitting here at home. I don't last long at all. So I totally get that. But so again, so everyone, just to recap, so Danny has a Power Rangers channel, and by the way, is your channel name? It's just your name, right? It's not We the Geeks of East LA. It's just your name.
Well, the channel is under my name, but it's officially We the Geeks of East LA. That's what the play button says.
Okay, so guys, yes, so look up Danny Castellanos as the name of the channel, because you got to go check him out. He has a lot of great Power Rangers things, and on my end, everyone, if you haven't seen Matthew Before the Paradox, definitely check that out. Danny does an
Definitely check it out.
starring
It was a lot of
performance.
fun and a lot of action.
Absolutely. And so, Danny, I just want to thank you for coming on and taking the time to answer all these questions. Had a really good time.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
So just try to stay safe and try to have some fun when you're locked up in quarantine. And I look forward to talking to you again really, really soon, Danny. Thank you so much for coming.
Awesome. Same here, and I hope, we get to do more work together.
I hope so. Yeah, I have some ideas. All right,
Awesome.
Danny, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
And guys, this was Live at Home with JRP. This was the 6th and final episode of Season 1, and we will be back relatively soon, but this is going to close it off for Season 1. Once again, I want to thank Danny, and I will see you all next time. Bye, Danny.
Bye.